The rain was falling in silver sheets over the Blackwood estate, a sprawling mansion hidden deep in the hills, its windows glowing faintly against the night. Anna pulled her thin maid's uniform tighter around her slender body as she hurried across the polished marble floor, her shoes echoing softly in the vast, empty hallway. She was shivering, half from the cold and half from the anxiety twisting in her stomach. She had only been working here for 3 weeks, but already she had learned one crucial rule: never cross Mr. Marston, the head butler. Marston was a man everyone feared. His sharp eyes missed nothing, his cold voice could slice through even the strongest will. Anna, young and naive, had hoped she would go unnoticed in her quiet duties, sweeping, polishing, serving. But tonight she had made a mistake. She had accidentally knocked over a stack of old documents while cleaning the library. The papers had spilled everywhere, and among them something had caught Marston's eye. Now Anna stood trembling before the towering figure of the butler, his bony fingers clutching a worn piece of parchment. His lip curled in a sneer as he slowly approached, the overhead chandelier casting long shadows across his severe face. "Do you know what this is, girl?" he asked softly, his voice like the hiss of a snake. Anna's eyes darted to the paper, her heart pounding. "No, sir," she whispered, clutching her hands before her apron. Marston stepped closer, the smell of old cologne and something sour filling Anna's nose. "It's a birth record," he said quietly, "one that doesn't belong here. You are not who you pretend to be, are you?" Anna's mind spun. Birth record? What was he talking about? "I don't know what you mean, sir," she stammered, her voice shaking. "Please, I didn't mean— enough," he snapped sharply. His eyes raked over her, calculating, gleaming with something dark, something dangerous. "You're not just a maid, are you, little country girl?" Anna gulped as the air seemed to thicken around her. She felt trapped, caged by his presence. Marston's lips stretched into a slow, cruel smile. "You're a virgin, aren't you?" he murmured softly. "Pure, innocent, just the kind of girl certain people would pay a fortune for." Anna's stomach twisted violently. She stepped back, bumping into the heavy bookshelf behind her. "Sir, please, I swear I don't—" "Silence," Marston hissed. He grabbed her wrist tightly, yanking her forward. "You want to keep your job, girl? Prove you have nothing to hide. Strip off that uniform. Now." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She shook her head frantically, panic rising in her chest. "Please, sir, please don't make me." His grip tightened, cold fingers bruising her delicate skin. Anna's eyes darted around the empty room, searching for an escape, but the heavy door was closed and locked. She felt the tears prick at the corners of her eyes as she realized there was no way out. Marston leaned in close, his voice a venomous whisper. "You think no one knows who you are, but I do, and tonight I'll make sure you remember who owns you." Anna's knees buckled slightly as fear threatened to collapse her from within. She choked back a sob, her shaking hand slowly reaching up to the buttons of her uniform. The old butler stepped back to watch, his eyes glittering in the dim light. At that precise moment, a sudden gust of cold air swept into the room. The heavy door slammed open with a crack that echoed through the library. Anna gasped, spinning around just in time to see a tall figure step inside. Nathaniel Blackwood stood in the doorway, his tailored coat dripping rain, his dark hair slicked back, his piercing eyes locked on the scene before him. For a heartbeat, the entire room froze. Marston's face paled, his mouth opening to speak, but Nathaniel raised a gloved hand, his expression carved from stone. Anna stared wide-eyed, her hands trembling at her collar, as she met the gaze of the man she had only seen from afar. Without a word, Nathaniel stepped forward, his powerful frame casting a long shadow across the room. Anna's heart pounded wildly in her chest as the billionaire approached, his eyes never leaving hers. Her breath caught as she saw something flicker in those cold gray depths. Not anger, not irritation, but something far more dangerous: possession. Nathaniel Blackwood was not a man who appeared often within the walls of his own estate, though his wealth spread across continents, and his reputation commanded rooms. He was a shadow to most of the staff. They only knew the stories that passed through whispers, that he was cold, calculated, untouchable, a man shaped by power and loss. Anna had only glimpsed him once from afar, the day she arrived. His tall figure stepping into a sleek black car, his sharp profile half hidden beneath sunglasses. Now here he stood, the rain clinging to him like a dark second skin, his eyes fixed on her, not on Marston, not on the scene, but on her as if she was the only person in the room. And for a second Anna thought she might faint. Marston recovered quickly, or at least tried to. His voice slipped into its usual polished tone. "Master Blackwood, I did not expect you home so soon. There's been a slight issue with one of the staff, and I was just handling it." Nathaniel did not blink. He took another step forward, slow, deliberate, his gaze cutting into Marston like a blade. The butler faltered his hand, still clenched around Anna's wrist. Though it had gone limp, Nathaniel's voice was soft, yet deadly release. Her Marston froze for a breath, then let go of Anna's arm as if scalded. Anna stumbled back, her breath ragged as she clutched the front of her loosened uniform. Nathaniel finally looked away from her, turning his attention fully on the butler, his expression unreadable. "You overstep, Marston," he said, his voice smooth yet carrying the weight of command. "I trust my staff to handle their duties. I do not trust my staff to lay hands on each other. Explain yourself." Marston's face twitched, the polished mask cracking for a moment. "Sir, I merely suspected theft from the girl." "You know how these country girls can be. They come here with wide eyes and sticky fingers." "I was ensuring she understood the rules." Nathaniel arched a brow. "And you believe forcing her to undress was part of those rules?" Marston swallowed hard, a bead of sweat trailing down his temple. Anna could feel her knees shaking. She wanted to slip away, disappear, melt into the floor, yet she could not move. Something in Nathaniel's presence rooted her to the spot. Nathaniel let the silence stretch, the rain pattering softly on the windows. Then he spoke again, his voice colder. "Marston, you are dismissed as of tonight. Pack your things and leave before dawn." Marston's face drained of color. "But sir, I have served this family for 30 years. Nathaniel's eyes sharpened. "And you have just violated the one principle I value above all: loyalty." Marston opened his mouth, then shut it again, bowing stiffly before turning on his heel and leaving the room. The heavy door closed behind him, and for a long moment Anna and Nathaniel were alone. She clutched the loose collar of her uniform, trying to steady her breathing, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Nathaniel took off his coat, shaking the rain from it, and without a word draped it over her shoulders. Anna flinched slightly but did not pull away. His scent clung to the fabric, clean, expensive, unfamiliar. His fingers brushed her arm briefly, sending an unexpected shiver down her spine. "Who are you?" Nathaniel asked, quietly, his voice softer now, though still carrying that edge of command. Anna's lips parted, but no sound came. She lowered her gaze, biting her lip. "I'm Anna, sir. Anna Rivers from the countryside. I came here to work. That's all." Nathaniel watched her carefully, his gray eyes flicking to the document still lying on the table. The birth record, the parchment Marston had tried to use against her. Anna followed his gaze, frowning slightly. "What is that?" she asked timidly. "I didn't mean to cause trouble, sir. I really didn't." Nathaniel exhaled slowly, running a hand through his rain-damp hair. "You are not in trouble, Anna, but you are more important than you realize." Anna blinked, confused, her fingers tightening around the edges of his coat. "What do you mean, sir?" Nathaniel hesitated just a fraction before he answered. "I've known about you since before you set foot in this house. Your application, your background. It all came across my desk. I accepted you here, not just because we needed help, but because I needed to watch over you." Anna's breath hitched, her heart hammering louder. Why she whispered, barely daring to ask. Nathaniel's gaze softened just slightly, and when he spoke again, it was with a weight that wrapped around her chest. "Your mother was once very important to me." Anna, her eyes widened, her throat tightening with questions she had never dared voice out loud. Nathaniel reached out, brushing a strand of damp hair from her cheek, his touch so light it barely registered, and yet Anna felt it to the depths of her bones. "You are not just a maid here, Anna. You are something much more, though you do not know it." Yet Anna's head spun memories of her mother's distant gazes, the unanswered questions, the missing father she had never met. She swallowed hard, feeling the room spin slightly. "I don't understand." Sir Nathaniel gave a faint, half-smile. "And you will in time, Anna, but for now all you need to know is that you are safe. No one will touch you again. Not in this house. Not while I'm here." Anna's knees nearly buckled. The tension, the fear, the confusion, they all crashed over her in waves, and yet through it all, something about Nathaniel's words, about his presence anchored her, kept her standing. She clutched the coat tighter against herself, her fingers trembling. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, barely audible. Nathaniel's eyes glimmered faintly, something unreadable flickering in their depths. "Go rest, Anna," he murmured. "You've had enough for tonight." Anna nodded slowly, turning away, her legs unsteady as she moved towards the door. But just before she crossed the threshold, she glanced back and found Nathaniel still watching her, his gaze dark, intense, unwavering, and in that moment Anna knew that whatever had just happened tonight was only the beginning. The following days passed in a haze for Anna. She went through the motions of her work, but her mind was a storm every time she stepped into a room. She half expected Marston to appear, his cold hands reaching for her, but he was gone, just as Nathaniel had promised. What remained, however, was something more unsettling. Nathaniel himself. He was a shadow, lingering at the edge of every space she entered. She would find herself glancing up, from polishing the silver, to catch sight of him at the end of the corridor, his sharp eyes fixed on her, or she would carry a tray of tea through the study, only to feel the burn of his gaze on the back of her neck. Anna did not know how to feel. She told herself he was only watching over her because of some old connection to her mother, maybe pity, maybe guilt. But at night, as she lay alone in the small servants' quarters, clutching the borrowed blanket, she could still feel the weight of his coat, the memory of his fingers brushing her cheek, and she wondered if it was something else entirely. Nathaniel was not a man used to explaining himself yet. Every time their paths crossed, he seemed to linger just a moment longer than necessary, his hand brushing against hers as he passed, his voice softer when speaking her name, his expression darkening when another male staff member so much as looked her way. Anna tried to ignore it. She reminded herself that she was just a maid, that whatever past existed between Nathaniel and her mother had nothing to do with her. But one evening, as she dusted the grand chandelier in the foyer, she heard footsteps approach, and before she could turn, Nathaniel was there, reaching up to steady the ladder. She wobbled on. "Be careful, Anna," he murmured, his voice rich and low. "You could hurt yourself." Anna's cheeks flushed hot. She glanced down at him, her heart thudding loudly. "Sir, I'm fine," she insisted, though her hands trembled slightly, gripping the edge of the ladder. Nathaniel's gaze flicked upward, his eyes catching on the delicate curve of her ankle, where her skirt had ridden up just a fraction. Anna swallowed hard, feeling the air between them shift, tighten pulse with something unspoken. Nathaniel exhaled slowly, stepping back, though his eyes never left her. "You work too hard." "Anna, you need rest." Anna descended the ladder carefully, trying to steady herself. "I'm here to work, sir," she said quietly, "that's all." Nathaniel tilted his head, a faint, almost amused smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Is that really what you think?" Anna blinked, confused, her fingers tightening around the edge of the ladder. "I don't understand." Sir Nathaniel reached out, then not to touch, but to trail his hand along the polished wood of the banister, his eyes thoughtful. "You are not just here to clean floors and polish silver. Anna, you were brought here because you are important." Anna's chest tightened. She could barely draw breath. "Why am I important?" Sir Nathaniel's gaze darkened his jaw. "Tightening your bloodline, Anna. Your mother, your father. There are things you don't know. Things that could change everything." Anna's heart pounded faster, her thoughts spinning. "I just want to help my mother," she whispered. "That's why I came here, to earn money to send home." Nathaniel's expression softened just slightly. "And you will, Anna, but you are not a simple maid. You are the daughter of Elise de la Croix, and that name carries weight." Anna's knees buckled slightly. She clutched the ladder for support. "My mother, she's just a seamstress." Nathaniel stepped closer, his presence filling the space. "No, Anna, she was much more. Once she was the woman I loved." Anna's breath caught. She felt the world tilt around her. "You knew my mother." Nathaniel's eyes flickered with something raw. "I loved your mother. I lost her, and now I have found you." Anna's mind reeled. She wanted to run, wanted to hide, but something in Nathaniel's voice and his gaze rooted her to the floor. Nathaniel reached out his fingers, grazing her cheek just briefly. "You are all I have left of her, Anna, and I swear to you, I will protect you." Anna's chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, her skin burning where he had touched her. "Sir, I don't know what you want from me," she whispered, her voice trembling. Nathaniel's smile was faint and sad. "I want nothing, Anna, except for you to be safe, and maybe for you to let me keep you safe." Anna turned quickly, blinking back tears. "I need to go," she mumbled. "I need to finish my work." Nathaniel said nothing as she slipped away, but she could feel his gaze following her all the way down the hall. That night, as Anna lay in her small bed, her heart refused to settle. Every word, every touch, every look from Nathaniel played over and over in her mind. She buried her face in the pillow, trying to block it out, trying to remind herself that she was just a maid, that she was nothing to him but a connection to a past. He could not let go, but the truth tangled around her heart, refusing to be ignored. Anna was drawn to him too, and it terrified her. She wanted to believe it was just gratitude, just the rush of rescue and protection. But late at night in the quiet, when she let her guard slip, she knew it was more. She wanted to see him again, to hear his voice, to feel the warmth of his hand brushing hers, even though she knew she shouldn't. Days blurred into nights, and Anna felt herself sinking deeper into the strange pull between them. Every accidental brush of fingers, every soft exchange of words fed a hunger she did not understand. One evening, Nathaniel summoned her to the main dining room, a place she had never been allowed before. Anna's heart pounded as she stepped inside her uniform, freshly pressed, her hair pinned back nervously. Nathaniel waited by the long table, his dark suit immaculate, his eyes gleaming with something she could not name. "Anna," he murmured softly. "Come sit with me." Anna hesitated. "Sir, I shouldn't. I'm just a maid." Nathaniel shook his head slowly. "No, Anna, not tonight. You are my guest." Anna's hands trembled as she sank into the chair opposite him, her heart racing. Nathaniel poured wine for them both, his movements smooth, elegant, deliberate. "Tell me, Anna," he said quietly. "Tell me about your life, about your dreams." Anna's throat tightened. She looked down at her hands. "I don't have dreams, sir. Not really, just to take care of my mother, to work." Nathaniel leaned forward, his gaze intense. "But what if you could have more?" Anna lifted her eyes, cautiously confused. More. Sir Nathaniel's smile was slow, almost predatory. "What if you could have a life beyond scrubbing floors and carrying trays?" Anna's chest constricted. She shook her head softly. I don't know, sir. I don't know if I can even imagine. That Nathaniel's voice dropped to a whisper. Then let me imagine it for you, Anna. Anna felt her breath stutter in her chest, her eyes wide, her hands clutching the edge of the table. Nathaniel reached across his fingers, brushing hers lightly, sending a shock of heat through her veins. Anna, I have waited a long time to find you. His voice was barely more than a murmur, and now that I don't intend to let you go. Anna's heart slammed against her ribs, her skin tingling under his touch. She should pull away. She knew she should, but she couldn't. She didn't want to. And in that terrifying, exhilarating moment, Anna understood that the man sitting across from her, the man who held her gaze as if he could see straight into her soul, was not just a billionaire, not just her employer. He was a force, pulling her into a world she had never known, and no matter how much she tried to resist, she was already falling. The next morning, Anna awoke with a pounding heart, her dreams still tangled in fragments of whispered words and piercing gray eyes. She sat up slowly, hugging her knees to her chest. The early light filtered through the narrow window, painting pale patterns on the wall. She touched her cheek where Nathaniel's fingers had brushed the night before, and a flush crept up her neck. She could not let herself get lost in this. She was just a maid, just a girl from the countryside clinging to her job to keep her mother alive, and yet everything was changing faster than she could catch her breath. She slipped into her uniform, tying the apron carefully, her hands shaking slightly as she moved through the familiar motions. She needed to focus, needed to push the memories away. But as she stepped into the hallway, she nearly collided with a tall figure. Nathaniel stood there, his suit crisp, his hair still slightly damp from a recent shower, his eyes flicking over her with that same unreadable intensity. Anna's breath hitched, sir. She murmured, her fingers twisting nervously in her apron strings. Nathaniel's lips curved faintly into a smile. Anna, walk with me. Anna followed him down the corridor, her heart hammering in her chest. They moved in silence, past the grand staircases and glittering chandeliers, past the polished marble statues, until they reached a part of the mansion Anna had never seen before. Nathaniel opened a heavy wooden door, gesturing for her to enter. Anna stepped inside, her eyes widening as she took in the room, walls lined with old portraits, glass cabinets filled with dusty heirlooms. The scent of history thick in the air. Nathaniel crossed to one of the cabinets, unlocking it with a small key. He retrieved a leather-bound folder and handed it to her. Anna's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were faded photographs, letters, legal documents. Her eyes caught on a black-and-white photo of a young woman smiling softly, her features strikingly familiar. Her heart lurched. "That's my mother," she whispered. Nathaniel's gaze softened. "Yes, Anna. That is Elise." Anna's throat tightened. She flipped through the papers, confusion and fear warring inside her. "What is all this?" Sir Nathaniel took a slow breath. "Anna, I told you, you are not just a maid. You are the daughter of Elise Delacroix, and you have a right to know the truth." Anna's mind reeled. She clutched the folder tightly, her voice shaking. "My mother never told me any of this. She never spoke of you, of this house." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "I know," he said quietly. "She was trying to protect you." Anna frowned. "Protect me from what?" Nathaniel's eyes darkened, stepping closer. His voice dropped to a low murmur. "From people like Marston, Anna. People who knew who you were and wanted to use you for their own gain." Anna's breath caught her knees weakening. She thought of Marston's cold hands, his cruel smile, his whispered threats. She shivered. Nathaniel reached out, steadying her, his touch firm yet gentle. "Anna, you carry a bloodline that comes with power, wealth, and enemies." Anna's head spun. She clutched his coat desperately. "I don't want power," she whispered. "I just want to take care of my mother." Nathaniel's expression softened. "And you will. He promised I will make sure of it. But, Anna, You must understand, you cannot run from who you are. Anna shook her head, tears pricking her eyes. I'm scared, she admitted. Nathaniel cupped her face, gently tilting her chin so she was forced to meet his gaze. I know, he murmured, but you are stronger than you think. Anna felt a sob rise in her throat. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust the warmth in his eyes, but doubt and fear tangled inside her, choking her. Nathaniel's thumb brushed a tear from her cheek, his touch lingering. Anna, you are not alone anymore. The door behind them creaked suddenly. Anna flinched, spinning around to see one of the junior maids standing there, wide-eyed. I'm sorry, she stammered. I was just looking for Sir Nathaniel. The girl's gaze darted nervously between them. Nathaniel's expression shuddered quickly, regaining his cool detachment. Yes, what is it? He asked smoothly. The maid wrung her hands. There's a man at the gate, sir. Says he's from the Delacroix estate, says he's here to see Anna. Anna's stomach dropped, her fingers tightening on the folder. Nathaniel's jaw clenched sharply. Tell them to wait, he instructed, then turned to Anna, his voice low. We need to talk. He led her to a smaller sitting room, closing the door behind them. Anna paced nervously, clutching the folder to her chest. Sir, what does this mean? Who are these people? Nathaniel's gaze was sharp, his mouth a grim line. They are the family who abandoned your mother, the family who now wants to claim you because you are valuable to them. Anna shook her head, her heart pounding. I don't want to be part of any of this. I just want to go home. Nathaniel crossed to her, his hands resting gently on her shoulders. Anna, you can't go back. Not yet. You're in the middle of something much bigger than you realize. Anna's breath hitched, her pulse racing. Then what do I do? Nathaniel's voice softened. Stay with me, Anna. Stay where I can protect you. Anna's eyes widened, her chest tightening. Sir, I can't stay here. I'm just a maid. Nathaniel's gaze darkened, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face. You are not just anything, Anna. You are mine. Anna's knees buckled slightly under the weight of his words. She felt the room tilt, her heart slamming against her ribs. She wanted to protest, to deny, but the truth was already unraveling inside her, and it terrified her. A knock came at the door, breaking the charged moment. Nathaniel's eyes hardened. Wait here, Anna, he instructed firmly. Anna sank into a chair, her hands trembling as she clutched the folder. She could hear muffled voices outside, tense, sharp words exchanged. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of everything. Nathaniel's connection to her mother, her own hidden identity, the people now arriving to claim her. She buried her face in her hands, feeling the weight of it all pressing down. Minutes later, Nathaniel returned, his expression unreadable. They're gone, he said softly. For now. Anna looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. What happens now? Sir Nathaniel exhaled slowly. Now we plan, Anna, you and I. We decide what comes next. Anna swallowed hard, her throat tight. Sir, I don't know if I'm ready. Nathaniel crouched before her, his hand covering hers. Then let me carry this for you, Anna. Let me be strong until you're ready. Anna felt the tears spill over. She pressed her forehead to his shoulder, trembling as he wrapped an arm around her, holding her steady. In that quiet room, in the heart of a mansion filled with secrets, Anna realized her life would never be the same again. But for the first time, she also realized she was not facing it alone. And though fear still clung to her like a shadow, there was something else stirring in her chest, something unfamiliar and dangerous and thrilling, a pull toward the man who held her. Now a man who had rescued her from the dark and was ready to fight for her, no matter the cost. That night Anna could not sleep. She lay curled under the heavy blankets, staring at the ceiling, her mind a whirlwind of memories and fears. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to shift and twist. Her heart pounded painfully. She kept hearing Nathaniel's words echoing in her mind. Let me be strong until you're ready. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust the safety he offered, but deep down a voice whispered that nothing this precious could last. Suddenly a sharp knock rattled the door. Anna sat up, her breath catching in her throat. Another knock, louder this time. Anna scrambled out of bed, pulling her shawl tightly around her shoulders. She hesitated, then crept to the door, easing it open just a crack. Her heart nearly stopped. Standing there in the dim hallway was Marston the butler she thought had been banished. His eyes gleamed with cold fury, his smile thin and venomous. "Good evening, little miss," he purred. Anna's stomach dropped. She slammed the door, but his hand shot out, wedging it open. "Tisk, tisk," he murmured softly now. "Now that's no way to greet an old friend." Anna's pulse thundered. She shoved against the door with all her strength, but Marston was stronger, much stronger. He pushed his way inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click. "You thought you were safe, didn't you?" he hissed, stalking closer. Anna backed away, her breath coming in quick, ragged gasps. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You're not supposed to be here." Marston chuckled low and dark. "Oh, little dove, you have no idea what deals are being made tonight. You think Mr. Blackwood is your savior." "Think again." Anna's back hit the wall, her fingers scrabbling at the plaster. "Please," she choked, "don't do this." Marston's eyes glittered with triumph. "You're valuable, girl, so valuable, but not to him. To the people waiting for you outside." He reached for her, his hand tangling in her shawl. Anna's scream caught in her throat. Just as the door burst open, Nathaniel stormed into the room, his expression carved from steel, his eyes burning with cold fury. Marston froze, his grip tightening for a heartbeat, then loosening as Nathaniel stepped forward, flanked by 2 security guards. Nathaniel's voice was low, lethal. "Take your hands off her." Marston sneered, his fingers tightening on Anna's arm. "Make me." Nathaniel didn't blink. He gave the smallest nod, and the guards lunged. Anna stumbled back, pressing herself into the corner as chaos erupted around her. The guards wrestled Marston to the ground, his curses and threats filling the air. Nathaniel crossed to Anna, his coat swinging behind him, his gaze never leaving her. Anna shuddered, a sob slipping from her lips as he reached her. He cupped her face gently, his thumbs brushing away her tears. "Anna, it's over. You're safe. Now." She collapsed against him, shaking uncontrollably, his arms wrapping around her, holding her steady. Minutes later, Marston was dragged away, his furious screams echoing down the hall. Nathaniel remained with Anna, his hand warm on her back, his voice a quiet, steady murmur. "You're all right, Anna. You're all right." Anna buried her face against his chest, her fingers clinging desperately to his shirt. She felt his heartbeat strong and steady beneath her palm. She had never been held like this, never been protected like this, and for the first time in years she allowed herself to believe she was not alone. Nathaniel pulled back slightly, tilting her chin so she was forced to meet his eyes. His gaze softened Anna. "I need to tell you something." Her breath hitched, her eyes wide. "What is it, sir?" Nathaniel exhaled slowly, his thumb brushing along her jaw. "I have been waiting for the right moment to tell you who you are." Anna's heart pounded louder. She clutched his coat, her voice barely a whisper. "Tell me, please." Nathaniel took her hands in his, guiding her to sit beside him on the edge of the bed. "Anna, you are not just Elise's daughter. You are the rightful heir to a fortune much larger than you can imagine. Your mother was born into the Delacroix family, but she walked away. She chose love over power. But now they want you back. Not because they love you, but because you threaten their control." Anna's head spun. She squeezed her eyes shut, tears spilling over. "I don't want any of it. I just want to be me." Nathaniel's voice softened. "I know, but you have to understand they won't stop. They will keep coming unless we stand together." Anna looked up at him, her heart racing. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. Nathaniel's smile was faint, almost sad. Because I owe your mother everything, and because somewhere along the way, it stopped being about debt and became something else. Anna's breath caught her fingers trembling. Nathaniel leaned closer, his forehead brushing hers. I cannot lose you, Anna. Not now. Not when I've just found you. Her heart slammed painfully against her ribs. She wanted to speak, to confess the swirling storm inside her, but the words tangled and broke before they could reach her lips. A soft knock came at the door. Nathaniel straightened his expression, tightening. Yes. He called the guard, poked his head in. Sir, we have a problem. Anna felt her stomach clench. Nathaniel stood his jaw tight. Stay here, he ordered softly. I'll handle this. Anna caught his sleeve. Wait, please, let me help. Nathaniel hesitated, his eyes searching hers. Then he nodded once. Come. Anna followed him through the winding halls, her heart hammering in her chest. They emerged onto the front steps, where a sleek black car waited. Figures in dark suits clustered nearby. Nathaniel's voice was cold, sharp. What is this? The tallest figure turned. Anna recognized him from the photo in the folder. A man with piercing blue eyes and silver hair. The Delacroix heir. Anna's breath hitched as the man smiled coolly. Ah, Nathaniel, I see you've been keeping something very precious from us. Nathaniel stepped protectively in front of Anna, his hand resting lightly at her back. She's under my protection. The man's smile widened. I'm afraid you misunderstand. She's one of us. Nathaniel's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. She's not yours. Anna clutched his arm, her knees shaking. Sir, please, don't let them take me. Nathaniel turned slightly, his eyes burning into hers. I promise you, Anna, no one is taking you anywhere. For a tense moment, the night held its breath. Then, the Delacroix heir's smile faded. Very well, he said smoothly. For now, but you cannot keep her hidden forever. He turned, slipping into his car, the engine roaring softly to life. Nathaniel remained still, his arm wrapped tightly around Anna until the car disappeared down the drive. Only then did he exhale slowly, his body sagging slightly with the weight of tension. Anna buried her face in his chest, her fingers fisting in his coat. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with tears. Nathaniel pressed a kiss to the top of her head, his voice rough. You are mine to protect, Anna, and I will burn the world down before I let them take you. Anna clung to him, her heart pounding, her fears swirling, and yet in that moment she believed him completely. She was no longer just a maid, no longer just a frightened girl. She was something more, and Nathaniel was the man who would stand beside her, no matter what came next. The days that followed passed in a blur. Anna found herself pulled deeper into Nathaniel's world, swept up in meetings and legal preparations. Her old life as a maid fading into the background, Nathaniel insisted on keeping her close. His presence a constant source of strength and steady warmth. She felt safe with him, safer than she had ever felt before. And yet, beneath that comfort, a storm brewed in her heart. Questions. She was too afraid to ask, fears. She was too afraid to voice. She wondered if this was real, if Nathaniel truly cared for her, or if she was merely a responsibility, a burden left behind by the woman he had once loved. Late one night, Anna stood on the balcony outside her new room, the cool air brushing her cheeks as she stared up at the stars. She wrapped her arms around herself, her thoughts a tangled knot of hope and doubt. She heard the soft sound of footsteps behind her and turned to see Nathaniel approaching, his dark suit, catching the moonlight, his eyes locked on her with a quiet intensity. Anna, he murmured, his voice rough with something she could not name. You should be resting. Anna forced a small smile. I couldn't sleep, sir. Nathaniel stepped closer, his gaze searching hers, his fingers reaching out to brush a stray curl from her face. You've been carrying too much, Anna. Her chest tightened, her throat aching. I'm trying, she whispered. I'm trying to be strong. Nathaniel's lips curved faintly. I know. For a moment, they stood there, the night wrapping around them like a cocoon. Anna's heart pounded as Nathaniel reached out, his hands gently covering hers. You don't have to do this alone, Anna, he said softly. Let me carry it with you, Anna. Felt the tears welling in her eyes before she could stop them. She looked down, her voice trembling. Why, sir? Why do you care so much? Nathaniel exhaled slowly, his fingers lifting her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. Because, Anna? He murmured. I thought I had lost everything, and then you walked into my life and I realized I had been waiting for you all along. Anna's breath caught her heart slamming painfully against her ribs. Sir, I'm just a maid, she choked. Just a girl from nowhere. Nathaniel shook his head slowly. No, Anna. You are the girl who reminded me what it means to feel, the girl who made me want to fight again. His voice softened. You are everything, Anna. Her knees buckled slightly. She clutched his coat, her tears slipping free. Sir, I'm scared. Nathaniel wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest. I know, Anna. I'm scared too, but I swear to you, I will never let you go. As the days slipped by, Anna began to see the cracks in Nathaniel's armor, the moments when the weight of his responsibilities pressed too heavily, the moments when his smile faltered and his eyes darkened with shadows. One evening, Anna found him alone in the study, his head bowed over a stack of documents, his hands clenched tightly. She approached cautiously. Sir, she murmured, are you all right? Nathaniel looked up, his eyes tired, his mouth set in a grim line. Anna, he said quietly, they are coming for the estate. They are coming for everything. Anna's heart clenched, her hands trembling. What can we do? She whispered. Nathaniel reached out, grasping her hand tightly. We fight, Anna. We stand together no matter what. Anna squeezed his fingers, her fear and determination tangling together. Sir, I won't leave you. Nathaniel's smile was faint, his eyes glimmering with something raw and fierce. I know, Anna. The night of the final confrontation arrived with a storm. The wind howled outside the mansion, the rain lashing against the windows. Anna stood in the grand hall, her heart pounding as the Delacroix representatives arrived, sharp-suited men and women, their faces cold and calculating. Nathaniel stood tall at her side, his arm brushing hers, his voice low and steady. Stay close, Anna, no matter what happens. Stay close. She nodded, swallowing hard, her fingers clutching the edge of his coat. The negotiations were tense. The Delacroix heir smiled coolly as he laid out his demands. Anna watched the faces around her, watched the flicker of anger in Nathaniel's eyes, the tightening of his jaw. She felt the pull of old loyalties, the weight of forgotten promises, and yet through it all, she stood her ground. When the heir turned his sharp blue gaze on her, Anna felt the chill seep into her bones. You have a choice, little cousin, he murmured softly. Come with us and reclaim your birthright, or stay here and lose everything. Anna's voice trembled as she spoke. I don't want your fortune, I don't want your power, I just want to live my life. The heir's smile faded. And you think he can protect you, he sneered, gesturing to Nathaniel. Before Anna could answer, Nathaniel stepped forward, his voice like steel. She does not need to think. I will protect her with everything I have. Anna felt the tears burn in her eyes. She reached for Nathaniel's hand, her fingers twining with his. I choose him, she whispered, her voice breaking. I choose him. The room erupted in cold fury, the Delacroix heir's eyes narrowing fine. He hissed, then you will both fall. In the chaos that followed, Anna clung to Nathaniel, her heart pounding as threats were exchanged, as legal documents were slammed onto the table. She felt the world tilt around her, the storm raging inside and out, and yet through it all, Nathaniel never let go of her hand, never let her slip away. When the final paper was signed, when the last deal was struck, and the Delacroix representative swept from the room in fury, Anna sagged against Nathaniel, her knees giving out. He caught her effortlessly, his arms strong and steady. "You're safe," he murmured against her hair. "You're safe." Anna buried her face in his chest, her tears soaking his shirt. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you for fighting for me." Nathaniel pressed his lips to her temple, his voice rough with emotion. "I would fight the world for you, Anna." Her heart ached with love and fear and gratitude. She clung to him tighter, her soul trembling with the weight of everything they had survived. And yet, deep inside, a new strength stirred, a determination she had never known before. Anna lifted her face, her eyes shining with tears and light. "I'm not just a maid anymore," she whispered. Nathaniel smiled softly, his fingers brushing her cheek. "No, Anna, you never were." And as the storm outside began to fade, as the dawn crept over the hills, Anna realized that she had not only found safety, not only found love, but had found herself in the arms of the man who had seen her from the very beginning and who had never once let her fall. In the weeks that followed, the mansion slowly settled back into a quiet rhythm. The storm had passed both outside and within, and Anna felt like she was finally able to breathe again. She walked through the halls not as a maid, but as someone who had claimed her place, not because of the Delacroix blood in her veins, but because she had chosen to stand beside Nathaniel. They worked side by side, rebuilding, repairing, restoring, not just the estate, but the parts of themselves they had both long kept hidden. Anna found herself smiling, more laughing, more her heart lightening with each passing day. Nathaniel, too, seemed to shift, the hard lines of his face softening when he looked at her, the shadows in his eyes retreating little by little. One crisp morning, Anna stood on the balcony wrapped in a soft shawl, watching the sunrise spill gold across the hills. Nathaniel appeared behind her, his arms slipping around her waist, his voice a low murmur in her ear. "You're awake early." Anna leaned back against him, her eyes fluttering closed. "I wanted to see this," she whispered the first day. "That feels like it truly belongs to us." Nathaniel pressed a kiss to her hair, his breath warm against her skin. "It does, Anna. It always has." Anna turned in his arms, her hands resting lightly on his chest, her gaze searching his face. "I was so afraid," she confessed. "I thought I was just a girl from nowhere. I thought I didn't matter." Nathaniel cupped her face gently, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. "You matter more than you know, Anna. You are the reason I found my way back." Anna felt her throat tighten, her heart swelling with emotion. She rested her forehead against his breathing, him in feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her palms. "Nathaniel," she whispered, "I love you." Nathaniel's arms tightened around her, his voice rough with feeling. "I have loved you from the moment you spilled those papers in the library, and I will love you every day." After Anna laughed softly, tears shining in her eyes. "You mean when I almost knocked over the entire shelf?" Nathaniel chuckled, his forehead resting against hers. "Yes, even then, especially then." Anna closed her eyes, her heart full, her spirit lighter than it had been in years. She knew the road ahead would not always be easy, knew there would be more challenges, more storms, but she also knew they would face them together, hand in hand, heart to heart. As the sun rose higher, casting its warm light over the estate, Anna and Nathaniel stood together on the balcony, their silhouettes framed by the golden dawn. They had weathered betrayal, and fear fought back against the ghosts of the past, and in the end they had found something neither of them had dared to dream of, a love that was fierce and true, a love that had saved them both. Anna rested her head against Nathaniel's chest, smiling softly as she whispered, "Thank you for finding me." Nathaniel pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Thank you for saving me, Anna." And with the sun shining bright around them, they stepped forward together, ready to write the next chapter of their lives, a story not defined by bloodlines or fortune, but by the strength of their love, by the courage they had found in each other, and by the quiet, unshakable truth that no matter how dark the night may seem, love will always lead you home.